In the news this week, Save Your Local GP, a medical practice owner, reveals what it takes to keep the door open as Premier Roger Cook gave a speech at Park Medical Group's 10th anniversary. A WAMA News exclusive.
Also tonight, space ambition. The government turns its gaze to space to reach the stars in an economic boost. And a 90-year time capsule buried at Fiona Stanley Hospital as the facility celebrates its 10th birthday. And later, Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is The Evening News with Ivan Loom and Maliva Thorne.
Good evening. WA Premier Roger Cook delivered a speech during the Park Medical Group's 10th anniversary, emphasising the important role GPs play within the community. As the primary healthcare industry continues to face significant challenges just to keep their doors open. High rents, doctor shortages, bulk billing rates and red tape remain major obstacles for clinics. The Premier said GPs are vital to ensuring the quality of life for West Aussies. Here's an exclusive extract from his speech.
I learned very early on the importance of primary health care, and that is that journey that you travel on with your local GP, your local healthcare professional, your local clinic, in making sure that you provide for your ongoing health needs, so that you don't continue to develop chronic disease and and experience episodes of unplanned care, because you've got that great relationship with your local doctor and with your local healthcare professional and allied healthcare professional, and the important role that primary health provided. There was many GPs that believed that there simply was not a way that you could bulk bill a patient and continue to provide a thriving clinical service. There was a period of time there where people simply thought that primary health care was dead and that it couldn't thrive in our community. And Sal and his family proved that wrong. And you've all proven that wrong. 10,400 new patients over the course of the last financial year has proven that that was wrong, and that we can provide quality medical care in the community, providing that great closeness that primary health provides to the patient.
As Park Medical Group celebrates its 10-year milestone, founder and managing director Raj Salvendra revealed exclusively to WAMA News the hardship and specific challenges of keeping the medical practice competitive. He also criticised Australian universities for deliberately producing a low number of graduating doctors. When discussing bulk billing, he believes it will continue in Australia for some time, but the government must increase the rates. Raj Salvendra, congratulations, and congratulations to Park Medical Group for its 10th anniversary.
Thank you.
It's way harder than people think. Just to keep the doors of GP open, you have 3, let alone having 1.
3 robust practices.
How tough is it?
It's tough. If you have less than 4 doctors, it's impossible to keep the doors open because of the high cost of operation. But the main challenge is a shortage of doctors in this country. Of course, in WA you have several medical colleges associated with universities, but the numbers they take in are too low, and they've set the standards too high. You got to get almost 99.9% to get into a medical school. If you set that standard for all the existing doctors, you'll probably find only 3% will qualify.
But that's what the community expects? They want high quality doctors.
That's got nothing to do with your degree. It's nothing to do with your entrance degree. It's a robustness of the training that you get. There are doctors who are doing very well now, who got 75-80%, went to medical school, excelled in the exams. So that 99.9 is purely a way of reducing the number who qualify so that they can keep the numbers low.
Artificially low?
Artificially low, because the universities can easily take in another 20 to 30% more, but they are not.
Let me ask you this way. In your speech, in front of the Premier of Western Australia, came to your dinner and have a listen. And he had a word. We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, your point, and I want to go back to the speech that you did say. $80,000 just for rent, $150,000 for per non-doctor staff.
Yeah, so general staff.
General staff.
Yeah.
And that's before you talk about the doctors, which is way more than that. Do you think people in the community understands how tough it is to keep a GP practice open?
No, I don't think even the government understands how tough it is. You're talking about shortage of doctors, so we get in foreign doctors. Now, let me tell you how we can manage a shortage of doctors. Government must start licensing private medical colleges in Australia. Look at Malaysia, same population as Australia. They got 35 private medical universities. And they are not just Harper 6 colleges. These are colleges associated with the best of the British and Indian medical colleges. And they are producing a large number of graduates. Many of them are now practicing in Singapore. And last week I got an application from a Malaysian who has graduated from RCSI, which is a medical college in Dublin, fully graduated and wanting to work in Australia. What we need to do is, people like Monash University has also got a medical campus in Malaysia. You wonder why you're not setting up a private wing in Australia, which should be much easier for them.
Lack of doctors, who is to blame?
The current policies. We've got to have higher intake into universities. We have to license more private medical colleges. Setting the standards too high, you are demoralizing potential doctors. Can you imagine somebody gets 99.5 and he's told you're not qualified to get in? Something's fundamentally wrong with the way you recruit students.
You say that if your practice doesn't have 4 doctors,
Yes.
it's gone.
Yes.
Well, back in the day, you can have 1 doctor and that was it. The doctor can own his own practice, have his own staff. What's happening here? Why is that the case? And how is it? And how does it affect public health?
Yep. In the olden days, say go back 15 years, no more than that, maybe 20 years, most of the doctors just rented a house. Rents are very low. There were no restrictions on where you can have a medical center. So you rent a house, you convert the bedrooms into consult rooms, you use the toilet as your treatment room, the kitchen as a staff room. That model will not work anymore by the new standards, which we actually need to have, new standards. Patients' expectation of a practice is much higher now. You invite them to an old shack to see a doctor, they will think twice. And there's requirement by the council that you must have 4 parking bays for every doctor. So if you have 5 doctors, you must have 20 parking bays. There's no place other than shopping centers where you can be located.
And they'll be ripped off when it comes to rent.
Absolutely. Rents are very high. But I'm not complaining about the rents. I'm just explaining why it is so expensive to run. So what happens when a few doctors go and leave? You start getting into the red, because no revenue. Doctors operate as contractors. They retain 70% of the earnings. So 30% goes to the practice owner, with which he has to pay all the outgoings. So you must have a large number of doctors to make it possible to keep the doors open. That is a challenge that we have. And then the one solution is to bring in foreign doctors. That's happening. There are about 800 Indian trained doctors here. In our practice, we've got Indian trained doctors from Burma, from Indonesia, from Malaysia, Singapore. But what does the government do? When you have a local doctor trained in our hospital, it costs the government $1.5 million. These people are coming in at no cost to the government. They're free. What does the government do? Punish them. Punish them by telling them you have to go and work for 10 years in the remote areas. Is that a sensible thing to do? That's discrimination. They should reduce the moratorium period from 10 years, which is a big part of your life, to 5 years, and make it applicable to all the graduates, local and foreign.
Perhaps the point is, how much 10 years have you got in life?
Exactly.
Now, I want to ask you, the main question that a lot of people will be concerned about are two things. One, the gradual reduction of choices of GPs because of the cost of operation, as we talk about, which will force people to go back to public health system, which is not a good thing, as the public health system is having a hard time, and bulk billing. We'll talk about bulk billing in the last question. But first, the reduction of choices. What do you think of the fact that there will be less GPs in Perth and in Australia-wide overall because of the difficulty of operating and actually owning your own practice?
Okay. First, let me talk about what the government can do to increase the number of doctors available for general practice. Make it a condition when you sign up to be a student that you got to spend at least 15 years in general practice. If you're not prepared to commit to that, don't recruit them. Say you're going to do something else, or you go to a private college. Here I am sponsoring you. It's costing me 1.5 million of taxpayers' money to keep you going, and you don't want to serve the community, then I don't need you. That's one way. You can force them by legislation to provide at least 10 years in general practice, or put it in another way, 10 years to work for the government. The other way, of course, is to license private medical colleges. Private medical colleges are doing very well, as I said. Even Monash University has got a campus in Malaysia. Why can't they have a campus here and allow more doctors to be trained locally? And those private medical colleges can also attract foreign students to come in.
The challenges of bulk bill and Medicare. Many practices don't really want to do bulk bill no more. What about you?
Yes, we do bulk bill.
What's the future of bulk bill?
I think bulk billing will continue for some time to come, no doubt about that. But in order for it to exist, the government must double the bulk billing rates. You cannot live in a fool's paradise. I get a plumber to come to my house, $150 call-out fee, $100, $150 for every hour, plus for the parts. That's even more than what a doctor earns. So why should you go and become a doctor? You're better off being a plumber or an electrician. So the government must wake up and understand that these guys, a doctor, before he can write a script for a patient, has 10 years of intensive education. 10 years. First a university, then a training at the hospital, then you do your fellowship, which is another 2 to 3 years. And you have to get a fellowship. You get a FRA CGP. And you add all the time before you can practice unsupervised. It's 10 years. And you offer them this pittance as a reward. It doesn't work. We've got to be realistic. And that is why doctors have decided to charge a premium over the bulk billing rates for those who are classified as private patients. Though if you're a pensioner or a health care card holder or children under 16, we still bulk bill.
Before I finish, I have to ask you this. You are turning 80 years old next year.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, how much 10 years do you have in life? This is your 8th. You're not retiring yet, aren't you? You're still going strong.
No, I will be working for another 10 years at least. Because once you have the passion and the desire and you keep your engine going, you'll keep ticking.
And you're prepared to sacrifice with it?
Absolutely. It is long hours. We are open every day of the week, including public holidays. So I come around to the clinics when they open. So you're actually working right around the year. I rarely take holidays, and I am quite happy to provide this service because it gives me great pleasure to provide useful service to the Australian community.
Right, Salvendra, thank you for your time. Congratulations once again, and we'll chat very soon.
Thank you.
This week, the state government announced the launch of WA's space strategy, aiming to invest millions of dollars into the rapidly expanding local space industry. The main goal is to position Perth as a global space hub, diversify the state's economy, and create more jobs. Reporter Paige Reid was at the announcement.
The Minister for Science, Stephen Dawson, says this new strategy will help drive the growth of WA's space sector to become a global hub. Dawson says that WA is an important place in the global space economy, and this new strategy will create more opportunities and ensure WA remains at the forefront of the global space race.
We have become known as the place for space, and our world-leading scientists that have been both born here but also have come to Western Australia to help lead the space sector are truly world-class.
Over the past 4 years, the state government has invested more than $95 million into supporting the space industry. WA universities have played a major role in the research, training and education capabilities in space sectors. Alongside the launch of the WA Space Launch Strategy, next month we'll also see WA Space Week, where exhibitions and conferences will be held to show our state's true reach in the space industry.
It's been really fun to watch those the mining industry and the space industry finding sort of the overlaps on where our challenges are the same. They're dealing with the same harsh environments that I'm used to dealing with in space.
Dawson says this strategy is another example of how the Cook government are progressing their goals of diversifying WA and future state. Paige Reid, WAMN News.
The City of Perth's extraordinary election has entered its final 2 weeks as the race heats up. The hotly contested race is crucial for the city as ratepayers choose their new representatives following the resignation of Councillor Brent Fleeton. Here's Peter Kennedy.
The Perth City Council extraordinary election on October 18 gives East Perth ratepayers the chance to cast their vote on how they think the City of Perth has been performing. The big issue for ratepayers in that area of the City of Perth is, of course, the proposed new primary school, which has led to a major row between Lord Mayor Basil Zemplis and the state government. So the question for ratepayers is, how has the City Council been performing? Another issue, do the ratepayers know who the candidates are and what sort of forums have been held to publicise the candidates? The turnout in local government elections has unfortunately been extraordinarily low for many, many years. The challenge for the government, for councils, is to get that turnout much, much higher and to get greater interest among ratepayers. One of the ways to do this, candidate forums, so that ratepayers can get to meet the candidates, find out who they are, what they stand for. This has been held for this extraordinary election, but the profile, the publicity, has been extraordinarily low. So this is a chance now for the election coming up. Ballot papers have already been distributed by mail. Important for ratepayers to fill those out and get them back to the returning officer to get the best result as far as they are concerned and as far as the City of Perth is concerned. But very important, if not now, then future elections, candidate forums. They should be held regularly for local government elections, for state and federal elections, so that voters, ratepayers know who those candidates are and what the issues will be. So watch out, October 18, just what turnout is there, the issues that they're voting on, and what their view is of how the City of Perth is performing. It'll be a red letter day in local government politics. Peter Kennedy, WAMN News.
Deputy Leader of the Federal Nationals, Bridget McKenzie, was in Perth this week to attend the Regional Gun Forum held in Kalamunda and to campaign for the seat of Bullwinkle. At a press conference, WA Nationals leader Shane Love addressed questions regarding niche living, stating that the Nationals were calling for a stamp duty exemption for first home buyers. He also discussed the Gun Reform Forum, stating that West Australians had come together to express their dismay at a government they believe has overreached. The Free Gun Forum event attracted over 200 attendees across Perth, with firearm owners voicing concerns about government overreach. In August, the Cook government's firearm buyback scheme concluded, despite the allocated funding not being fully exhausted. The Deputy Nationals leader also took the opportunity to promote the coalition's prospects in the next state election.
2 people have been charged after allegedly setting fire to items at a chapel in Karrakatta, causing $1 million worth of damage. The swift arrests were made after the police arson squad responded to a fire at Karrakatta Cemetery on Tuesday night. Firefighters attended the scene at 11:30 p.m. and extinguished the blaze at Norfolk Chapel. Arson squad officers arrested and charged a 28-year-old woman from Mandurah following an investigation into the fire. Police will also allege that the woman set fire to a small shed at the cemetery on 2 separate occasions. This weekend, authorities also revealed that a 26-year-old Horsehead man was arrested and charged by arson squad officers overnight. He was refused bail and appeared at a Perth Magistrates Court on Saturday.
Perth's Fiona Stanley Hospital has celebrated a decade of helping sick Western Australians. The hospital welcomed back the first patients who had attended the rehabilitation service in October 2014 this week by the previous Barnett Liberal government, as well as the family of the first child born at the hospital. State Health Minister Amber-Jade Sanderson reveals that the hospital has one of Australia's busiest emergency departments. The hospital block adjacent to Murdoch University is set to expand with a new $1.8 billion new women's and babies hospital. The Fiona Stanley Hospital has helped over 30,500 women give birth to their children, as well as performing over 1,500 transplants. A special time capsule has also been launched by hospital staff, and it's set to be unboxed 90 years later by the hospital.
And now here's Dr. Andrew Miller with his weekly medical and news commentary.
Hi, thanks for your time. Welcome announcement this week that money is going to be spent on the Sir Charles Gardner Hospital Emergency Department in Perth in order to upgrade what are now pretty tired facilities there. It's amazing what a workhorse that hospital has been, along with the others across the metro. And I think that those, along with the ones outside of Perth, across our great state, have really lacked for capital expenditure over the years. Even Fiona Stanley Hospital, now more than a decade old, is starting to show signs of just exactly how much work those places are doing all the time in what is still a rapidly growing population, where during the cost of living crisis, more and more people have been relying on the public system for their healthcare. Also, of course, it's been through pandemic time and trying to catch up on ever-increasing wait lists for elective surgery, and also trying to train our future doctors and nurses, which should never be forgotten, that these teaching hospitals are the core of the future of our universal healthcare system. So access to care has been difficult in many cases because of the lack of funding for staffing for these facilities, but also because of the lack of capital investment. We're a very wealthy state, one of the wealthiest places in the world, as is shown by our record surpluses that we've been having. And we need to be investing in these because a healthy population is what we need to drive an economy and to make a contented community, which is really the ball game that the state government must be in. So welcome to see the news, but as always, we think that if we want to have a system that is as good as our population deserves, we do need more, and we need more smart investment, targeted towards all of the increased technology that we're seeing, things like robotic surgery, and also in the mental health system and the child and adolescent mental health in particular, needing lots of focus. So health is an investment. Welcome to see some money going in. Would be better to see more in the future. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Doctor. Now, speaking of time capsules, what a fantastic way to celebrate a 10th anniversary.
So, what's in the box?
Well, I heard the minister say that they've put in masks and rat tests as a reminder of the COVID pandemic.
I'm surprised they actually haven't put in any photos of people doing, those elbow tapping and feet shaking, given those were the days. No handshake at those times, right?
I do not think so, not to my knowledge.
No, and I think it'll be interesting to see what were they thinking. What will they be thinking, rather, 100 years later?
And now, here's what's coming up on 6 News tonight.
Thanks, guys. The top stories we're following on 6 News. The situation in the Middle East continues to escalate as pro-Palestine protests go ahead here at home ahead of the October 7 attack anniversary. Former SA Liberal leader David Spears resigns from Parliament after being arrested and charged with drug offences. And the countdown is on for voting to begin in Victoria's local government elections as the Electoral Commission gets ready to send out postal ballot packs. You can watch live 24/7 on the 6 News YouTube channel. For now though, guys, it's back to you.
Thank you very much. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website, wamnnews.com.au.
Remember to subscribe to the WAMN Extra News Club so we can continue our work in the community. Full details on wamnnews.com.au/news/extra. From Melly, Paige, Peter and myself, wish you good health, good night. See you next Sunday.
Thanks for watching.